Hi, everyone. I'm glad to present our session, Share Your Career Journey. And thank you so much for being here. We're super exciting to have you. And the idea of this session was quite simple. What if we had heard more honest, real stories when we were students or in the beginning of our career path? And I don't want to hear these great, successful LinkedIn stories. I wanted to hear the messy, unexpected human journey behind them, with some doubts, probably with some errors and surprises, but also with skills and moments that make them real. We decided to create this space where all professionals can share their different backgrounds and can share how they come where they are. What can you take from this session today? For the first, as a first point, I would like you to understand that a career path doesn't have to be perfect. Your skills, even ones that you don't matter, you think that they don't matter, might open doors and for you that you haven't even imagined yet. And that there is a power of asking questions, listening, and connecting with people who've been where you are now. And I ask you to be curious, take notes if you want, and mostly important, ask questions. You can ask it directly from the audience or using Slido. And let's make fun, honest, and real. Thank you. So I would like to ask the first speaker, Alexander, to share his career path.
Thank you so much for organizing. I think this is a great initiative. How much time do I have? Like 2 minutes?
5 minutes.
5 minutes, okay, I'll try really try at the same time. Okay, this is probably to me, you know, like, yeah, successful, all this on stage, blah, 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 community, AI, data AI. Okay, then now let's share my, how I'm not able, oh, like this. Okay, I just said, okay, this is basically my life, yeah. This is my life and it's a mess. And I had really like a lot of feelings and all stuff. I also made like wrong assumptions. So I really started as a 5-year, I was born in Heidelberg. My father was working at a building company. So I was actually my first 2 years in school in Iran, which in a German school, it was before the revolution. And actually I was taught in a class with parallel teaching, which you basically, oh my God, we cannot do it. Did it affect me? No, I don't think so. So I came back. Actually, I was always into music. I became, I was DJing, techno house was a new thing at the time. So a lot of enthusiasm there. I was a party promoter doing school parties, also like other techno parties and stuff. It was like a really vivid time. Then I really didn't know about if I should not go to the military or not, because I simply had no answer to the question, oh, if I really need to shoot somebody, will I do it? I just had no answer and I didn't want to lie about it as well. So I found the easy path, let's go to NATO, and I was actually in administration, so I'm a really probably not the best soldier to defend you, but I know processes and NATO administration. Yeah, 25 years, well, after 2 years of military, which was still like, I think we had to do at that time, I decided, yeah, I don't really want to go for psychology, let's rather study the law. I have no answer why I made this call, and I think it's totally okay with 21 not to really know where your life will lead. So there is not this straight path. So then, while I was studying the law, I was DJing, doing parties and stuff, and working in a record shop. While studying the law, I worked in a record shop because I had to self-fund my studies. So my mother was a single mom. She left my father when she was 40. With me, like as a 7-year-old, she rebuilt her tailor business. We never had a lot of money. But so I always had to work for if I wanted to have something fancy or like make my living. And of course it was a struggle, but also while all the side hustles I had, like serving pizza at Pizza Hut and stuff to make money, I learned a lot. Yeah, the best thing, if you want to learn about people, serve people, because then you will really know who's nice and who's not so nice. Yes. So yeah, it's a life experience, actually, a lot. Then, of course, I was DJing Steinleut. There was like this music company, they had just like started. I joined them. I said, oh, I also want to do a label. Sure, why not? A little bit like the Python community. I want to do this. Yeah, sure, why not? So eventually I was running a house label. Our company grew. I could basically follow many passions like music, working with artists. Fun fact, my most successful artists were actually all from Darmstadt, so I know the region. And actually, yeah, so business was doing really good. It was really exciting time to do stuff. But since business was doing well, we absolutely ran into an administration problem, because at that time, fax, post, don't sell this. The sales reports were not in a file; they were sent in paper. So we had to fix it because we didn't have the capacity. So there was no software because there were no companies building software for that. So I taught myself programming, built a whole EPR. This is how I got into programming, which was really good because with like 28 years, I was a CEO of a non-listed AG. I was really proud. I never had a suit at that time. Yeah, but eventually with the music crisis, the whole thing totally fell apart. And everything I had worked in my life for fell apart because I was fully invested with my life and what I'm doing in this company. And they said, oh my fuck, I don't have an education. I quit studying, but yeah, good thing was Apple launched the music downloads. I was one of a few people who knew programming, tech, and the industry, and actually, yeah, I was a unicorn in understanding these both domains. And then I was a little bit, okay, music industry just sounds fancy. If you do it too long, it's just like, oh no, I really want to leave. And then I got into like weekends at Coursera and nights in Jupyter Notebooks, taught myself data science with everything we have at hand. Yeah. One point is, when I started programming, I had 2 books. No YouTube videos, no online, nobody to help me. Yeah, it's like today you just have to pick it up. It's awesome times. So what I sum it up, and now this is like the career I built then in machine learning and AI, and I'm really happy. I would say I'm a generalist. I'm probably not the best programmer. I can program solid stuff and build good architectures, reliable architectures, but there's people that are better than me. But with broad interest and curiosity, I was able to find my path. And also, some people say, oh, come on, Alex, music, data, programming, you really have a really good hand in making your passions into your profession, which is probably good, but it's also like enjoyable and gives you like a lot of energy if you really like what you do. Yeah.
I don't know if this one work as well. Okay, great. Does anyone have some question? We have time for 1 or 2 questions. Yeah, great.
So I guess my question is, how did you kind of balance work-life balance with being successful?
What is work-life balance? I like what I do. I enjoy community. I just like what I do. I don't have any other hobbies. That's the thing. So yeah. So yeah, it's.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Someone else? Okay. No. This was.
Hello. I'm quite impressed by your story indeed. And then they have so many lessons for me to take. Indeed, I did my PhD in math and I did also postdoc, but I'm so much hesitating to take the next step. And always waiting to be like perfect and then to talk about it. For a person or for people like me, what is your real suggestion to make us really to the next step?
You are your own worst enemy. That is the suggestion. And that's also I learned myself. So in the past, if you had like looked at my LinkedIn or like maybe a year ago, there was zero reference to music industry because I said, oh, the music industry. Well, it's like, if you know the music industry, you know it's like not really super professional. It's like shiny but not professional. So actually, everything my CV started with, yeah, here was like Apple and digitalization and stuff. So I really hit it, and I can also make like a really other submission because everything is in your head, and you basically have a no already, just there. You have to really go and dare, and probably doesn't work every time. So don't try to go for the sure shot. Of course, sometimes you have a no, sometimes people you're not interested, but I can make like a really big commitment here, let's say not commitment. So when I joined the Python community at EuroPython, it was my second year in Python. So I knew programming, but I migrated from something more proprietary to Python. The whole community and everything was pretty new to me. I really enjoyed it. I was session chair for Valerio at PyData Berlin and PyCon, EuroPython at that time. And I really enjoyed the community. I joined the EuroPython Society, and there were all these strangers on email. I never worked with. And then EuroPython was being rebuilt in Bilbao. So actually, I was organizing a Python conference for 1,200 people in Bilbao, where I've never been, with total strangers. I didn't know anybody. And somehow it worked. I learned a lot from this. I couldn't believe this works. But actually, during the process, and we're rebuilding, I said, yeah, we need program chairs for EuroPython, the big EuroPython. So we need program chairs. So actually, Alex Savio and me said, let's do program chairing. Do you think somebody is like 2 years into Python should program chair a conference like this? You probably wouldn't say no, but is it necessary to be a good program chair to be the best programmer? You just need to see what's relevant for the community. It's more like, a little bit more like having like an overview and just doing a good job. And actually, the next thing I have to admit, I think it was the third EuroPython, a very friendly core developer explained to me that Python is actually written in C, because I was just a Python user. I don't care what's happening under the hood. Yeah, so this is stuff where we say, don't think, be annoyed, don't try to shine, because we have all these things in our head. Just go ahead and do it. And sometimes you have a no, but from my experience, most of the time, you get a yes, and just do it.
Okay, thank you for
Thank you so much. And I'm really sorry, I have to leave early because I have to go to have another session. But if you have questions, you can always approach me at the conference.
Alex is always busy, but... yeah, hello, my name is Nico, and I structured it a little bit so that I can basically give you 3 key takeaways. And the first, basically up there, you see also my official CV, like stuff like high school, then I studied industrial engineering, worked as a data scientist, now became a team lead, straightforward. But what actually made that possible, or what was the most interesting thing for me, have been always my side projects. Basically, I mean, yeah, you have to do some study at a university or like go to high school and stuff, but I mean, there you learn important basics, but that what really frames you are the things you do on the side. The things where you have actually passion to do it on the side, because then, I mean, it's totally optional. All those side projects, no one told me I have to do that. I did all of this because, yeah, it motivated me. I had a passion for it. I coded through nights because I wanted to do something. I joined hackathons because it was a great atmosphere. I don't know, if you have an interesting idea, something that triggers you, go for it. That's the thing where you actually make progress and where everything, I think, becomes very interesting and what you can also later talk about. And the great thing about side project is you can always start from scratch and fresh and yeah, learn a lot. The second thing I would say is become a contributor. So not just take courses in Coursera or in the university or wherever, but start doing things on your own. two examples for me that really helped me was I always had been active podcast listener for more than 10 years, like really first Apple iPod I had, and then I was listening to podcasts all day. And there are a lot of good tech podcasts where you can learn a lot about tech, but back then there wasn't so much in German. Most of it was in English, and there was a little bit in German, but not so much. And it took me like, I had the idea of, yeah, I could start an own podcast, but can I really do this? And I thought about it for almost a year until I met someone who also had the wish of a good German tech podcast. And then I started with it, and it was a great thing for me because, yeah, I basically just asked people I knew from somewhere or who are good in some field and asked them, can you sit together with me and explain to me what you do? And I recorded and I cut it and stuff. And yeah, that was always a great opportunity for me to learn. And as it goes, you get more confident in things and stuff. And then at some point you might even ask people where you look up to and where you normally wouldn't be brave enough to say, okay, can you explain me things? But with something like a podcast in the background, that really helped me. And it gave me some audience and yeah, but that's just my personal thing. The second thing, I love to speak at conferences. I think it's a great opportunity because you can meet people, you can exchange. If you give a presentation, people might later at a coffee come by and ask you about your talk. You don't need to reach out, but people come to you. That's also a nice thing which helped me. But I want to say it doesn't have to be like that. You don't have to get on a stage or something if you don't like that. But become active. Build an open source project, for example. Just don't use it on your own, but push things out. Speak about the things you are doing. Maybe organize, if you like to organize things, yeah, like do it as Alex and organize events like meetups and stuff. There's the Python ecosystem and the Python community is really open for everyone who wants to engage and do things. And yeah, that is the point where you actually get your hands dirty, learn. If you can teach something, you really have understood it. So get active and jump over your shadow. And the third and last thing is, if you're in doubt, I would say new is always better, or mostly better, because for a couple of reasons. If you pick a young technology, normally it's easier to start because it's not like every nitty-gritty detail is already there, but you can basically learn with the project. Often the contributors are really open already still to feedback because they don't have a big audience. And it's much easier to become an expert in some technology which is just evolving because it's basically new to everyone. You have the benefits as a starter that you don't have any legacy code or things you already have to maintain or stuff. You can start from scratch. So if you're in doubt, I would always pick kind of the younger, newer project because yeah, you can easier make an influence there and yeah, but only do it if it makes sense. So don't solve a regex with a neural net, but yeah, that's basically my 3 takeaways for you.
Thank you a lot for your presentation. Does someone have a question? Okay, I see one.
I think I don't need a microphone. I can repeat it.
Okay.
Hi, Nico. Because I know you for years, my question is, how do you find the time and the energy to do all these things? And also, if I look at your slides, you're doing a lot of things. How do you handle all the information you get from these things?
Yeah, it's true. I would say, as Alex said, if you really like what you do and the side projects and stuff, you like it, yeah, that gives you energy as well. So if you can work on something what you enjoy, it should normally give you energy. And if you realize that working on it takes you all the energy and you really need some things that motivates you to do that, you should rethink whether you're actually doing the thing where you're best at. Because I would argue, at least for me, it was always, if I can work on things I want to work on, that rather gives me energy than taking it.
Great. Another question from the audience?
Before you told that your podcast as well, you talk about whatever you were doing, and how did you decide it really? Okay, now I'm okay in this topic and I can talk in it.
The point was, I always was kind of the moderator, and I could just ask the question. I had an expert to talk about. I was never the expert in my own podcast, and the nice thing is I could even ask questions where I felt like really stupid to not know, with like saying like, for the audience or for people. I mean, it was totally crazy because it was for me, but I felt so unsure in the beginning that I wasn't brave enough to say, okay, I don't understand that. I should have done that because it would be better for my listeners in the end. But in the beginning, that helped me. Yeah, later, I also did it on my own and said, okay, even if it's really basic, I don't understand it. So can you please explain it? Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Let's invite a new speaker.
Okay. Hi, everyone. My name is Daria, and here's my story, how I went from a sit-at-home mom to a senior data scientist. So let me start. My exposure to programming started when I was in the middle school, but to be honest, it was pretty boring because these Pascal tasks, and also I didn't understand the connection to the real world. So we were just solving tasks. So I decided to give up on that. And that led me to getting a bachelor's degree in management and economics. And at the same time, I was trying to learn foreign languages as much as I could. And I couldn't pick up one language to focus, to become, for example, an interpreter or translator, because I just loved the rules, the systems, grammar, the logic behind the language. And it was I was ready to jump over next language, whether it would be Chinese or French, to compare them. So I was pretty nerdy in that stuff. And then after graduation, I got married and I had my family, and my kids are now 9 and 6. I have 2 daughters. And also I was pretty happy, and I am pretty happy in my married life, but I was thinking about, is it it? So would I be forever staying-at-home mom, just reading something, posting something, writing something blog posts? And here's what my maternity leave was quite extended. It was I believe 5 or 6 years. So I had some time to think, with the free part of my brain, because other part of my brain was occupied by family. And I thought about languages, and what was very exciting for me in languages. And I understood that under the language there is data, there is structure, there is logic, and I decided to Google it. Yeah, what can we do with language, but in a more fashioned way? That's why I came across NLP, natural language processing, and then I found out about data science. And I was pretty lucky because already in that time I had a choice of online courses, tutorials, schools, and I tried to jump over next new thing, study everything, and I even got an internship in EPAM, and I was happy to do it remotely. And then I was hired by an outsource company. And during all these steps, I learned a lot. I was drinking from a fire hose. And also there were a lot of struggles, because when I tried to get hired by a company, because I just had some studies, but I had no credentials, no work experience, it was tough, because I got a lot of rejections. So, but my family supported me. And then I just realized that knowledge is a power, because it can help you to switch your domain. It can help you to get entire new career. That's why I like to learn. I keep learning, and I like to share my knowledge. That's why I'm pretty active in AWS community, and I hope to be more active in Python community. And I like that now we have a lot of opportunities to, if you search for opportunities, you will get them. So my takeaway is that there is no like golden rule or proven path of your career. You can follow, you can go back and forth, you can take your own way. But what will help you is to be curious and try to learn more about something you have no idea about. Then if you're new, if you're a beginner, failures are just, you cannot avoid them. But what will help you is if you build a supportive network, your friends, your family, community, they will support you. They will like embrace your failures. They will help you to go through it. And also, one important thing is to know your why. My why was to support my family and to earn a decent amount of money. So it will help you to go through your struggles and also try to save your achievement. Even like screenshots, someone praised you, save it, because imposter attacks, I guess everyone knows about it, yeah. And also, yeah, just take care of your mental health, take breaks. It's okay, because there is no golden rule. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We have some time for questions. Yes.
Hi, good talk. Just when it comes to like career transitioning and changing, you know, and learning a new programming language from scratch, and I think like maybe a motivation for people that are actually like starting that, you know, how difficult it is sometimes to go through online courses or to choose between YouTube and what we call like tutorial hell, being stuck in that loop, going to video and video again. And how can people actually navigate that path and make sure they get the best out of learning programming?
Yeah, it's a great question. Thank you. So I think my take was to first like ask people about what kind of courses they would suggest. Or also I was trying to spot some popular courses. But the most essential is not just to watch them, like watch video, try to use this knowledge and already try to build something with this knowledge. That's why this is where your learning curve would be steep, yeah, because you will got a lot of errors, you will got a lot of, you know, I don't know how to figure it out, but that will lead you to another videos and to something that you already did this, you already have a hand-on practice, not just you remember something from the video. So I think that every video is good so far. It helps you to build something.
Great, thank you. One more question.
Without prior work experience, how did you find your first breakthrough in the data science industry?
Yeah, this is a great question because in my situation, I was located in a small town. I had no like big offices nearby, and I was trying to find an online remote opportunities, and it was challenging. I got a lot of rejections, maybe primarily because I didn't have like relevant experience, and the second point was about that I didn't have idea about the exact profile. I was trying to apply to data engineering, like data analysis, data sciences, like every type of roles related to data. And then I realized one thing, that I could get experience at my current place because I was a content creator, you know, like doing some part-time blog posting. And I just asked them, if you are okay, I can do some, numbers, Excel spreadsheets. So, and I already can put this as a small working experience, but it is still a real world experience. So, and during my interviews, I was talking about these experiences. Yeah, it was a relevant experience, and that helped me a lot because I already had a topic to discuss.
Right, I think it's a great tip.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Is it on?
I think so.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much also from my side for joining today. I'll walk you quickly through my career path and where I started. So I'm currently working as a senior data scientist, but it all started with a PhD, a bachelor's and a master's in political science, so totally not computer science. And currently in my team, I'm the only one with a not computer science C background. I mean, there is diversity, but there's no one coming from social sciences. If you look at my career trajectory, those green parts here, it kind of looks like a straight line. So I was going, during my PhD already, doing some kind of freelance data science. I then started as a proper data scientist in a company, moved to IBM, and now I'm with SAP. But there's more behind the story, as so many before already told you. And the more to the story is actually side projects and being involved in the community and realizing that the things that you already know, even if you're not coming from a computer science background, are a perfect fit to the things that you will be doing in your everyday job. For me, it was Correlate, which is a non-profit organization where I was volunteering. I was doing project work there. I was doing mentoring. I was giving presentations. It all kind of counts towards your work experience that you can then sell to your future employee and kind of make them aware that you know what you're doing and that you have these kind of skills. I'm also involved with PyLadies and R-Ladies. So PyLadies are here, obviously. If you didn't get a chance, there's a booth over there. Pick it up and talk to them. It's a great community to be involved in. And I'm also Google's Women Tech Makers Ambassador, another network to be engaged in where you can get training and where you can also speak and talk with people and network. So this is kind of basically my whole career story. And what I said before is, coming from a social science background, it might be hard to sell to someone who is not coming from, who has a more technical field, to sell those people that you also have these skills that they are looking for. And that's one of the kind of major lessons that I learned when I was moving into the field and not going the postdoc route that was kind of predefined for me before. So what I did is I sat down, I looked at the skills that data science requires. I went through job advertisements. I went through and saw, okay, they're looking for math and statistics. They are looking for programming and database. They are looking for domain knowledge and soft skills. They're also looking for communication and visualization. And eventually, depending on where you work, they want to build products and not just prototypes. So I sat down, looked at that, and then looked at my experience that I had back then, gained during my PhD, gained during things I was doing during side projects. I went through that and realized my portfolio looks actually pretty nice. I can relate to that, and I can bring these skills, because actually I have a background in statistics. I did that during my political science studies because it was a major part of my whole training. I also have some experience in programming. Of course, there are people who are better, but I bring other things to the table that can be beneficial. I have, obviously, you have domain knowledge. Depending on where you end at working, you will pick up different domain knowledge over the long term, but that's okay. You can do that because those are things that you learned during your studies. And I also think I do have some soft skills, so I'm also bringing that to the table. I can communicate, I can visualize results, because I've done that during my PhD. I've done so many plots. I can do that. And that actually brought me to data science, because during my PhD, I was building my first open source package. And I shared it with the world and realized it's so cool to build something that people are actually using. So I can partially build products, small products, but I can somewhat do that. And that's what I brought to those interviews and where I convinced people. But those things would never, like at least not for me, they wouldn't never have been possible if there wasn't the community. For me, it was writing blog posts, being engaged with Correlate, as I said before, like this kind of non-profit organization, but also being part of Our Ladies, PyLadies, and all those other networks. They're a really nice place to be, to learn, and also to give back, which I think is really essential and so beneficial for everyone. Thank you.
Thank you for your presentation. We have time for 2 questions. Someone like to ask something? Okay, I will give first one.
Thank you, that was lovely. Just a quick one about not taking the academic route that was planned for you after your PhD. Was that a hard decision to make, and how did you get there?
Yes, it was a hard decision because I had a really nice postdoc offer on the table, to be honest, and I was really considering doing it, and I always wanted to become a researcher. It was like I realized during my bachelor's that the work that we're doing is so cool, like really diving into something and figuring things out, working independently. But in the end, academia, at least in the European German context, is highly unstable. It's not secure. There are so many kind of downsides. And also you're working like for 3 years on a paper, and then there are like 5 people reading it. I mean, like, it's a bit sarcastically, but it kind of somewhat reflects reality. And with the open source software, I realized, okay, there are like 10,000 downloads, 12,000 downloads, something like that. So people, at least it feels like they're more using it. So making then this kind of, I like pro-con lists. I made that one. And I made the decision, but it was a tough one. But I don't regret it, because I feel for me it's the right place to work in. Yeah.
Thank you. And we have another question.
How did you get your first projects as freelance data scientist?
Community. So I wrote blog posts actually, and it was during the COVID period. I submitted my my CV at a conference, and some companies saw it there. It was like some kind of job board or something like that, and they reached out and was like, "Hey, do you want to support us?" I was like, "We've seen other things from you on Twitter. You were talking about X, Y, Z," and I mean, like, it's really easy actually. Like, once you do this step and you start talking about the things that you're doing, I know it's intimidating at first, but like not being in front of an audience, like in reality, but posting things online, it can be so easy once you did the first step. And that's what I did, and then I was talking about that. The company knew me from beforehand, saw my CV, and they reached out. So that's basically it, yeah.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
Advancing one's career is often visualized in media as climbing a mountain. Depending on one's route, skill set, and even luck, the length and experience of such a climb can vary greatly. Today you have learned and will continue to learn from very inspiring individuals how to scale such mountains. But I'm not here today to advise you on how to climb mountains. I'm here to advise you on how to bridge the valleys that lead to those mountains. Because not everyone is privileged enough to be dropped off at the base of such, at our metaphorical career mountain upon reaching adulthood. and I'm one such individual. I'm Jonathan, and I'm a 33-year-old school dropout. After dropping out of school for health-related reasons, I worked various minimum wage, dead-end jobs, barely making ends meet. I was neither respected nor appreciated for my work. Imagine going to work, having to dread being put down every day. That was my lived reality for many years. So, how did I turn my life around? I signed up for a distance learning program to earn my high school diploma. At that time, I didn't know that I was eventually going to begin to climb the data science mountain. But I knew that I liked thinking analytically and working with numbers, and such jobs require the correct papers generally. But as we heard today, that does not necessarily apply, but back then I didn't know that. So in 2021, I discovered data science was a thing, and it piqued my interest. Soon after that, I used up all my vacation days for the year to teach myself Python through a Coursera course. Shout out to Dr. Chuck from the University of Michigan. Python for everyone. Anyway, at the end of the course, Dr. Chuck recommended students of the course to visit their local PyCon, and that was what led me to volunteer to the PyCon DE in 2022. I want to highlight that due to my financial situation at the time, I wouldn't have been able to afford participating if not for the financial aid program. So I want to offer a big thank you to the community and the sponsors for supporting me and many others. That what I experienced thanks to that act of kindness convinced me that data science was the way to go for me, and I haven't looked back since. Oops. End of 2022, I applied to my current company, Fresenius, as a dual student, and I was accepted. In 2023, I earned my final high school diploma. Yes, in Germany, there's 3. It's a wonderful thing. While working 2 jobs on the side, and then began studying data science. Today, I'm a 4th semester data science and AI student, and every day I actively look forward to working instead of dreading it. And while I just began the climb of this mountain 2 years ago, I'm overjoyed to have reached it in the first place after so many years. I'm truly happy now. So, what advice do I present to you today based on my rather unique experiences? Number 1, hard work invested in yourself always pays off. Number 2, for the most part, anyone can learn anything. Number 3, don't compare yourself to others. I used to struggle with imposter syndrome, and when I first, at my first PyCon, I felt like I didn't belong at all. And in general, in the years before I was, I managed to be in university. I felt really bad and struggled, but in the end, no other person has shared your struggles, so your individual journey can simply not be compared with others. Number 4, often failure is a prerequisite of success. We've all walked into the Goomba before. It's part of the journey, and don't shy away from it. And lastly, don't be ashamed of being different. Sometimes when I think about how much younger the other students in my course are, I feel bad, and I'm like, I have thoughts like, oh my God, I'm like 10 years behind all these other young people. And, but in the end, my journey was different. And when I think about how, what kind of a walking statistical anomaly I am, that despite all the hurdles I had to go through, that I managed to make it there in the end. I begin to take pride being a walking statistical unicorn. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you for sharing your story. We have time for one question, if someone wants to ask something. Okay, great.
Thank you for sharing. How do you deal with your imposter syndromes?
What has helped me is having people that support me. For me, my girlfriend is a really great support. And also, like I just mentioned, I show myself I just look back and I realize how amazing it is that the long way I've come since 10 years ago or so. And when you look back on all your small little successes and how they've add up to that very moment, that's what lets me push on and keep going.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, hi everyone. It's a pleasure to be here and hear so many inspiring stories. It's a really big honor to be also be invited to this round here. My name is Anastasia Kravdina, and I'm here today to share my story with you. Here are two pictures of me. So it's me in my hometown, and it's me not so while ago, actually not so far away from here, so enjoying the bicycle trip along the Rhine River. I can highly recommend this if you're into the bicycle. It's a fantastic road with a lot of many charming cities. Right? As you can imagine, the reason why I put this picture, I was inspired by all these influencers in the social network where you need to stay next to the most expensive vehicle. And I hope this picture screams to you how successful I am in my life. As you can imagine, a few things happened in between of this too. Let's get started. So I have a couple of minutes to tell you about this. Originally, I'm from Siberia, Russia, as you can judge by my nice outfit. I was born there and lived there, and also did my bachelor and master in physics. The reason why I decided to choose physics, I know it sounds strange, but it just was the most easiest thing for me to do. I was good in physics, and then it was like, yeah, I will just go and study physics, why not? The motto of my university was, we will teach you how to learn, which sounds a bit weird, but now I really embrace this because I think it was the main skill I got out of university. In addition to the great basic in physics, I actually learned how to learn, which is the skill I use till now. Back when I realized that, yeah, it would be nice to have some abroad experience, so to speak. You know, when you live in Siberia, I can tell you, I was like 23 when I met the first person who didn't speak Russian. You know, so like the English was not my priority, and any other foreign languages neither. But for some reason, I decided that my English is good enough just to go and live abroad, which was, well, very, very enthusiastic, I can tell you. So I landed in Germany, know nothing about Germany, not speaking the local language, and had very, very bad English back then. Anyway, it was sufficient to do a PhD in particle physics, and of course I have to pick up both languages, so English and German as well. And I was working in various so-called large-scale experiments, right? So the most A known one among them is a Large Hadron Collider, so you most probably have heard about this gigantic thing on the border between Switzerland and France, where people look at the tiny particles and try to understand how our universe works based on this. Yeah? So essentially, in the nutshell, it's a lot of data you need to analyze, very unique data, and there are many people working on this experiment, so it's several thousand of people. So in addition to physics and programming skills, I also learned a lot about working in the large group of people, right? So it's similar to the enterprise we are working in right now. Yeah, it was a lot of fun and a lot of interesting things where I can apply, very wide variety of skills. And I noticed that I really enjoy working with data, but I don't really like unsafety in academia. A few people, like Kazima, formulated this very nicely, that you don't feel very safe and stable there. So for me, it was the point when I started to look what else are there and where I can apply my skills, and it was quite clear that I would like to go to the industry and become a data scientist. It was quite a difficult thing to do, to be honest. I was, back when I was this proud postdoc, I was working at LHC, everyone will want me. It turned out not to be this way, right? So I still had to prove myself and show why I believe I will be highly useful in your company. And when, in the nutshell, in my life, I had like 3 major transitions, right? So moving to another country, moving from academia to industry, and recently I did my, maybe not the last, but last till now, transition from individual contributor to becoming a kind of manager, right? So now I'm living in Hamburg, in Germany. I'm a tech lead in a big enterprise company, leading the team building ML-based solutions. And in my free time, I also mentor people and help them to find the best investment on their time to have a more fulfilling career, and also people who would like to break into the data. Right, that's it about me.
Thank you for your story. I also studied in Russia, and we have the same motto in the university.
It's probably the same university.
Yeah, great. We have several minutes for the questions.
Hi, thank you for sharing your experience, and also hi from Siberia.
Great.
And also hi from astronomy, from physics in general. And the question is actually, how did you sell yourself to an industry and program and data science stuff? Because like, as I understand right now, people really think that physics, astronomy, and all this stuff is something ephemerical, right? Something is not connected completely to the stuff that basically we are all doing. How did you spend a lot of time and effort to try to explain that it's basically the same thing, or maybe you did some special tricks in order to convince people that actually I am doing the same thing that you are doing? Yeah,
right,
thanks.
This is a fantastic question. Thank you for asking this. I think the main trick, so to speak, is to understand where you're heading into, right? Because many people have this misperception that if you are working in science, that means you are wearing a white coat, you are sitting in the lab and doing something with glasses, which is far from the truth, especially for people who are coming from physics, right? And if you are also in astronomy, you might be part of a larger collaboration or smaller collaboration, but most probably what you do is not so far away as it might seem for people who never worked in the research. And unfortunately, we are not going to think about this themselves, right? So it's kind of your job to understand first what they are doing, what are the things which are valuable for them, and translate what you did, right? So I literally had to translate what I did and reflect on what I call achievement, so to speak, right? Because what was valuable in the research that I had that many papers, right? No one cares about papers in industry. What they care about that you build some product which was used by some people, and you know robust software development practices, right, and things like this. So it really requires kind of research, if you want, from your side on where you're heading into. And what I can only recommend is talk with other people. Talk with people who made it, who are coming from science and now work in an industry, because they can help you to find this language, or understand their language faster, right?
Thank you. Another question? Okay, great.
As a mentor, what is the most common advice you give to inspiring data enthusiasts? Or what would you say is the most crucial, or the most crucial one piece of advice that you can offer?
Okay, I think the most crucial piece of advice, if you lived on this planet for some time, you must probably collected a lot of experience which might be quite valuable for what you are going to do next, right? And I guess, like, it's hardly to find anyone who in kindergarten wanted to become AI engineer, because AI engineer exists only 2 years, right? But there are people who were doing the right steps, so to speak, or who collected relevant experience. And the main advice I usually give, think how you can apply this experience, right? Although I did this many transitions, and it felt like I started from scratch, right? It was never like starting completely from zero, right? I had already some things which helped me to do the next steps.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for your story. And we have a next speaker.
Thank you all.
Hello, my name is Sohan. I think most experiences you heard so far are folks who, came from a different background and moved into data science and computers. I'm going to go the other way. So I actually did my computer science engineering back in India many, many years ago. And currently, I do developer relations at a startup called Oddsed. I've worked in a bunch of different companies, including Amazon and InMobi. So I've been in parts of startups with like 20 people, but also in companies like Amazon with more than 1 million people. So I think I've had the breadth of experience there. A bit about my story. I did computer science engineering, and I started my career writing mobile apps on iOS. Any app developers here? People who build apps? Not too many. OK, a couple of y'all at the back. This was in 2010, and Apple actually used this very obscure programming language called Objective-C. Not too many people have heard of it, but the ones that have, I think, have some shared trauma of writing code in Objective-C. I definitely do. But there wasn't too much documentation or videos and YouTube back then. So I actually spent time blogging on behalf of the company, and I really started enjoying the process of sharing what I was learning. And I also got very active on Stack Overflow. And let me tell you, there's no greater motivation than fake internet points on Stack Overflow, right? When you see that number increase, you're like, yeah, I got to get those points. And I started enjoying that process. So while the coding was fun and I liked tech, I started enjoying the process of sharing what I was learning. And I came across this very, very new field called developer relations or developer advocacy, where technical companies basically needed folks who understood tech to share their knowledge with other programmers. And this company called InMobi was looking for someone like that, and that's where I joined. And that was 11 years ago, and I've been in developer relations ever since. So, that's my story right there. I think a lot of people are curious about what developer relations is, and there's no formal definition really, right? I think in part of my job, I do a bunch of different things. I think the most important is, of course, I code. I have to learn to code and I have to be able to teach code. But I also do spicy takes on YouTube sometimes, which gets you the views, remember? So, the more controversial the view is, the more views you'll get on YouTube. But I also speak at conferences such as this, and also do like community stuff, both online and offline. Online and offline. There's a lot of stuff that happens behind the scenes in developer relations as well, where you are taking feedback from what you hear on ground to your product and to your engineering teams. So that is, in a very short, in a nutshell, what developer relations really does. And it is a field that I see growing a lot because there are more companies that have technical products now, and the end customers are technical people, such as you and me. So this field is getting quite popular nowadays. I think post-2020, we have really seen like a large number of people getting into this field. I think my advice for you is, right now, tech is really at the heart of everything we do. And the most important skill across all industries, right? Even if you're like, say, an artist or I know someone in sports or in technology, is knowing this ability to understand computers, right? And I'm not necessarily talking about writing code, but being able to create a website, for instance, for your art, or being able to navigate this technological world. And because of that, I think there are so many side things that have opened up in terms of ecosystems. So really, it is about you figuring out what you really like in the tech world. There are viable careers as content creators across different mediums, right? There's YouTube and podcast, and honestly, even TikTok. I'm not even making this up. But there's also things like documentation and technical writing that you can get into. There are also very viable careers as meetup organizers and conference organizers that people do very successfully, right? So I think it's looking at the tech world and looking at the niche that really interests you and sort of going all in and exploring that niche is the sort of advice I'd like to give. And I think as a student, I think right now is the easiest time to be a student. All the information you need is there online for you to grasp. It's also the hardest time to be a student because that playing field is completely level. Anyone, anywhere in the world with an internet connection has the exact same information that you do, right? So it's really up to you about how you think about what you really like and want to do, and then consume information and take actions to do that. So that's it from me. I'm around in the conference if you want to chat and have any questions. Thank you.
Thank you for sharing your interesting path. We have one question.
Yeah, thank you. You used the word student. I'm a student. I'm finishing my master in mathematics. And right now I'm applying to internship programs, and it has been so hard. And it's really, really hard, the competition, because what I'm seeing is like, because I talk with the people in some meetings, the companies and also in the internships are taking persons that already have experience in those internships. So, what advice can you give us for those students that we are also changing their career? I'm not feeling that I'm changing the career. I feel that I'm getting better in my career because I'm becoming better mathematician. I'm pure mathematician, but I'm becoming better mathematician because right now I decide to learn Python. For pure mathematicians, the people for computer science are like, oh no. And the people for computer science, the mathematicians are, oh no. And I want to be a bridge. Yeah. And I'm getting better because of that. Yeah, and actually I'm organizing my thesis in the bridge of both, okay, in the research math of deep learning. So what can you advise us? Because it's like a lot of interviews, but a lot of rejections. And right now with the AI, they also have a lot of good programs that someone with that is no senior, the programs can do everything. It's like how the companies expect that we can have a new career or a new path if already the same AI make everything.
That's a very valid question, and I think that's something many students go through, right? One thing you have to understand about the process of applying to an internship, especially at a big company, there are thousands of people applying from all over the world, And again, the internet and work from home has flattened that. I think when I used to hire for interns and stuff like that, the thing that stood out to me was people who had built something, right? Like they had like a portfolio on GitHub, or they had like a personal portfolio with projects that they had built, and that immediately got someone to stand out from the hundreds of other people who just had a resume with, like I'm doing my master's. So I think just having that where you have hands-on experience on a public space so that then you know, hey, this person really understands what they're building. I don't care that they don't have prior experience. They know how to code or they know this. That really matters, right? So having that something hands-on, I think, makes the biggest difference.
Thank you. And I think that we don't have more time, so I will invite the next speaker.
Hello, I'm Chuck. Yeah, I don't have much, actually. I just have one slide. Yeah, because I haven't planned a lot about what I'm going to say. And I also think that, like, oh, it's good to see all these, like, beautiful faces here. But, like, I also noticed a lot of you here sitting, you know, just by the look, you look like me, women, you know, in tech. And so some of these like points I'm going to say now, it may apply to you, you know, but it may not. But anyway, it doesn't matter. So hello, I'm Chuck. I know a lot of speakers talk about what they do, like, you know, in school and stuff. I don't know how deep I have to go. Yeah, I study physics, and then I also, like, want to be an actor. I was working in a theme park, and I did some actor training and did a lot of, like, part-time work, giving out flyers, surfing tables. I've done all, like, anything you imagine, maybe even you don't imagine, I've done it. But now I'm here. How I get here? So I would say that I started as a data scientist almost 10 years now ago when I first moved to the UK. And, you know, I was doing part-time. I don't know what I'm going to do. I have I won't say life crisis because I was only like 30 years old at that time, but I have a crisis. I don't know what I'm going to do in life. So yeah, so my friend said, like, oh, how about you do data science because you have, you know, like, you know, strong science background. I would say that that's not necessary, actually, to start a tech career. So, okay, I did a course online. I was lucky enough to land a job that is not data science yet, but data analysis job. And then I got promoted to be a data scientist. I started learning Python when I first started that job. Because when I was doing the course, I was learning R, and then when I started the job, everybody used Python in the team, so I, you know, okay, learn Python. I realized that Python's actually, I fell in love with it. I love it so much. And then I go to a lot of conferences and lots of meetup. And because I talk too much, I go to too much conference. Yes. I remember one time, I was working at a bank at the time as a data scientist, and my boss come to talk to me, say, like, you can't go to that conference, even you take holiday to do it, because you go to too much conferences. So, okay. I took the holiday, I went there, and then basically he's about to fire me. And I just tell him, no, I choose the community, and I just, you know, leave the job. You know, I initiate to leave the job, so I left. Then, at that time, I was like, oh my God, that's a horrible experience. How can I integrate the community in my work? So that's how I started my career as a developer advocate. And basically, I'm still doing what I do the most, you know, talking to a lot of people, going to a lot of conferences. But this time, I also have a burden of representing my company and also, like, you know, how I can give value back to my employer. So it's a bit tough at the beginning because, you know, nobody teach me how to do it. I started working for a startup as the only developer advocate at that time. You know, it's my first developer advocate job, so, like, I don't know how that works out. So in the end, I think right now you have seen me at the JetBrains booth. I'm now working for JetBrains. I think so far I have a very good experience working with them, the team, because I'm not the only person anymore. I have support from my colleague, which is, like, make a great difference when you are, you know, a lots of experience developer advocate. Even at this time of my career, I'm not a new developer advocate. I've done it, like, for years, but still, it's very good to have someone to support you. So for any one of you who are interested to become a developer advocate, I'm really happy to help you. I understand how much, you know, how difficult it is. You know, it's kind of like a mystery job, right? Like, nobody knows what you actually do. So please come and talk to me. I can be reached by check.dev. You can see also I have my own branding. I'm like, wearing kimono all the time now. But, I can talk a little bit more about how you can build your own branding, especially for women. Like, you don't have to dress like a tech bro to attend a tech conference. So come to the open space. I'll be at the Feminist AI Open Space at 3 p.m. today. If you want to talk more about that, or even just anything about, how I can help you, just come and talk to me. Or you can, at a time, you can find me at the JetBrains booth, probably, other than Paddy's lunch, maybe. But anyway, just grab me at the conference. I'll be here. Love you all. Thank you.
Okay, I think that we can ask all necessary questions in the open space and the free, it's okay. And I will ask the next speaker to come. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Azamant, and in the next few minutes, I'll tell a bit about the story of my journey as a data scientist. But first of all, I want to just see, like with a show of hands maybe, how many of you here are from outside of EU as a student or as a worker? Okay, quite a bit. So that was me as well. 10 years ago, I decided to do my studies somewhere abroad, and I picked the Netherlands. It was very random. I just had this like Excel sheet with like a bunch of columns where I was like tuition fee, rankings, and universities and the rankings, this, that, whatever. And I was like, okay, Amsterdam seems to be like, it ticks all the boxes. And actually when I moved there, I thought that they speak Danish, not Dutch, because in Russian it like made sense. But anyway, like I ended up in the Netherlands. I knew almost nothing about the country. And I did my bachelor in math and computer science. Because again, I was just trying to like diversify and I wasn't sure what exactly I want to do. And then I took a course in econometrics, and that was the first time I was exposed to Python and data analysis. Found it really exciting, and I was like, okay, I really like this thing. I want to know more about it, and then kind of started learning about ML, AI, and all the other things. So quite quickly, I realized I want to be a data scientist. I did my master in AI, and then started a job at ING, which is a Dutch multinational bank, but has a pretty big presence here in Germany as well as a retail bank. So I worked there for a few years. I started as a data scientist, but then kind of moved into a product manager position, and it was fun. I was working on different projects, but ChatGPT came out, and I think for a lot of people it was like this revelation moment, because we've been all doing AI, but it was kind of like logistic regressions. You'd be lucky if you use like a recurrent neural net sometimes. And then this thing comes out, and it's like the stuff from the movies. And both for me and for a lot of people I know, it's kind of this nudge to explore a bit more what's happening out there. And then I joined an early stage AI startup called Typetown, where we were automating end-to-end content marketing with LLMs. And it was a lot of very interesting projects that I was doing. But there I kind of was not just a data scientist, but an engineer, right? Because at an early stage startup, you're with 5 other guys, and you kind of have to pick up everything. So I learned how to do backend, learned how to do front end, had to set up stuff in Google Cloud, all these other things. But the startup journey is a bit bumpy. So that wasn't all rosy all the time, and we've been having some problems. So I started looking for another job, and now I'll be joining Databricks as of next month, but again, in a new kind of role as a solutions architect, which is a position, maybe you don't hear about it as much, and there's not as many like vacancies about it, especially for kind of like a junior or someone starting their career. Because this is something that you have to do after you already had like some years of experience in the field. But essentially, it's about helping companies, mostly like medium to big enterprises, to like transition to some kind of technology. Databricks is this layer on top of GCP or Azure or AWS that kind of makes data analysis and data processing more efficient and less costly. And as a solutions architect, you kind of design the solution for the company. You understand what's their current landscape, kind of draw the target, and like move the steps in that direction. It's a bit of a sales kind of position, but with quite a few like technical quirks to it as well. But as you see here, I've went through like a bunch of transitions, and this is not even that many years of like experience. So these 4 moves happened in the last 5 years. So maybe it says something about me, and I'm like not very good at committing to just one single title, but I think it also says something about the industry, because AI is moving so rapidly that you kind of have to constantly adapt, and you have to kind of constantly reassess, is the thing that I'm doing right now kind of like still fitting the most my ambitions or my interests? And I think if you ask yourself that question often enough, you'll maybe have not as many transitions as here, but you definitely won't be like staying in the same place. So kind of like a few tips of what I would like to share with you. I think they resonate with a lot of the things that were said before. One thing for sure that Sohan, I think, mentioned is that if you're just starting out your career, really build stuff in public. Others mentioned as well, kind of try to write blog posts, try to like give back to the community, put your name a bit out there. But beyond that, I think these 3 tips would be more for like if you're found that first job, found that first position, focus on what creates impact and not what fits your role description. And I think this has to do also with the fact that, right, AI is changing a lot, but companies are messy. So if you join a big company that does a lot of data stuff, you won't necessarily find like the perfect landscape. In some companies, there'll be stuff like the data isn't clean and all that stuff. But even if the tech at the company is solid, you might encounter something like, maybe their product or business sense is not as optimized towards like the stuff that products and features and AI require. So you have to constantly just be like questioning yourself, is the thing that I've been asked to do or want to do really the thing that will drive the most impact? And if the answer is no, then try to challenge back kind of whoever asked you to do this thing. Maybe they have a very good reason why you have to do it and you're actually wrong, and that'll just be like a healthy discussion that you had. But maybe you'll be right, and in that case it's also a win, because most of the time managers, like, they will be happy if you help them discover the best path to move forward. So that would be one piece of advice. Another, and it has to do, I guess, with a bit of this first thing, is you have to seek the best environment. So if you have a boss to whom you come and you challenge them on the idea and they don't listen to you, they're probably not a very good boss. So you kind of have to like also assess that. Look for good bosses, look for good colleagues, look for a company with a good culture. It can be stuff like, right, do they just give you a task and blindly expect you to do it, or do they have this culture of kind of open feedback, of also giving back to the community, kind of encouraging work beyond of what's just necessary? And also, you can find this environment outside of work, like in your community, in your local city, if you have any meetups and stuff like that. This is really like a force multiplier, right? Because if you have the right environment, those people will really help you grow in your career. So, watch out for this one. This is probably the most important thing out of these 3. And the last is, you have to have fun, because if it gets boring, then you're not going to be as motivated to do stuff. And if it gets boring, try to do something about it, right? So try to inspire change, either in your team, bring it up. Say, yo, guys, the stuff that we're doing isn't as exciting anymore. Maybe we can like think of how to do something more interesting, or kind of be also open, right, to, again, just like reevaluating, is the position or the title that I have right now still fitting my interests? If not, don't be afraid to change. I guess I don't have that much more time. So tomorrow I have a talk. So meet me there if you're interested. I'll be talking about LLMs and benchmarking them on writing. And otherwise, feel free to approach me.
Thank you very much. Do we have some question? Hi.
Hi, so you mentioned seek the best environment. I was just curious, do you have any tips for what you you specifically look for in colleagues, bosses, in culture when you're seeking your job environment?
I think first thing is I want to be surrounded by people I can learn from, right? And that's something that's generally like easy to assess. They have to be open and collaborative for this to like really work. But I think beyond that, the other thing is that you want to be surrounded by people that are also constantly trying to improve. Because let's say you join a team, you have a lot of stuff to learn from everyone. Within a year or two, you maybe will soak up most of this, right? So unless also the people around you improve and change, that won't really kind of like long-term play out. So I would say these three qualities: people that know stuff, they're open, and are constantly kind of trying to improve themselves and the environment they're in.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So one more question. Okay.
So yeah, you said something about like the most important part was seeking the environment, and I just have to question if like what do you do when you can't do anything about your environment because you're stuck with something? I don't know, but maybe you can't find the next job, or maybe like there are other reasons for staying at the position you're in. So what do you do to make the best out of your situation if you can't just seek the next thing?
So I think oftentimes, I mean, of course, there's different like life circumstances, but I think especially in the like scene as expanding as rapidly as AI, there's always going to be like a maybe new team or something else to like join, because I do have to say, like, I'm speaking not just from my experience, but experience of like friends and stuff like that. Quite often, if you join a team that really doesn't fit, you know, you're going to waste much more time and energy trying to improve that rather than just like trying to seek something that fits you. And I think there the tip of advice would be try to like learn about the different companies or stuff like that, not just through like job applications or company websites, but like talk to the people. So you can always like reach out to someone on LinkedIn and stuff like that, or again, just like, you know, go to meetups and stuff like that. And then kind of what people tell you about it, like different companies, you kind of hear it when it's a nice environment. And yeah, I think that would be the advice. Yeah.
So we actually don't have time, and I suggest we can talk with our speakers during the lunch pause or next days. And okay, I will ask to join the next speaker. Thank you. Can switch with this one.
Yep. Hello. It's really great to be sharing this. It looks such a simple idea, but it's very heartwarming to know that all the pressure that we have in ourselves for defining what success means. And I really love Jonathan example of the mountain, because it's like the movies, and it's always like yes, I will find the man of my dreams or the woman of my dreams, and then it's like no one tells you, right, how it is those things. And I reached the top, and then, well, for me the funniest part is jumping out of the mountains anyway. So I have a very massive story. And fun fact, I thought I would be talking with kids, so I prepare all my slides for kids. And I actually start backwards. My background, I'm Brazilian. I was born in Brazil. And I was very happy to, oh, perfect, this is my time, checking my time. And I think I was very lucky to get into a sort of a young adult age in a very flourishing, blooming economic, social time of Brazil. And that shaped a lot of my experience. And I love humans, and for me, every single one of you is this beautiful universe. When you stop to talk to a human, there's this beautiful universe that unveils, because there's this whole history full of a plot twist that helps to each one of us, and everyone has this really beautiful, rich story when we see that granularly. And for me, was being raised in Brazil in that time where there was a lot being talked about digital culture and open source shaped me. I really advocate for free software because of that experience. And that taught me about opening up boxes and being curious about. And this is how my career has been shaped. A lot of up and downs, feeling that I reached something and then being in the bottom. And that started with the choice of being an artist and going full in university, master degree, working to pay for the university, very common in Brazil. You usually work when you study. But something made me fall in love for the weird art, because I learned that in hacker spaces. And I was a very mediocre artist, and I had always been very conflicted about that. But I kept on creating, and I was very sure that for me art was about sharing, and that should be open. And I used to make tutorials about how could you replicate my art piece, for example. And for some reason, I was an artist assistant that took me to Mexico, and I wanted to extend the most my time in Mexico. And I stayed there for 3 months with the salary of a half month. But that made my best friends and my partners in crime. One of them is the artist of the first exhibition called Jaime Lobato, which is a freaking genius. And I did the curatorship of his first big exhibition. And then I found a really love for creating. I found that I could be a very mediocre artist, but I could take the best out of the artist and make a very beautiful exhibition. And I really love start thinking about creating. And creating, if you don't know what a curator does, it's kind of someone who puts an idea in the space. And it's kind of a lot of thinking, a lot of organization, and you need all of those skills, that a bit of organization, a bit bureaucratic, a lot of thinking, and a lot of aesthetics and shaping. And I thought I had reached the top in Mexico. At some point, life plot twist, I got an offer job in Mexico when one of my very poor friends became the vice director of the Museum of My Dreams. And I was invited to be the head of production and curator and the Museum of My Dreams. And I was like, oh yeah, damn, I reached the top. And then plot twist again, my partner got a job in Germany. And when I moved to Germany, I had nothing. I had not my name. I didn't know how to speak my own name or to where I come from. And I was really down in the bottom, what am I going to do? And the first thing I thought was well, I would search for a place that I knew before, because I took some classes, because when you do this kind of weird art in hacker spaces, you usually go copy and paste code. It was yeah, maybe that could be an alternative. So I searched for PyLadies, and I agree with Cosima, community for me is everything. Not only because I love humans, but because community for me is everything. It was because of this community, they were why don't you change careers? And I was me? I come from the place where I was an artist assistant, and he hired technic people who used to be way better paid than me. And I was why don't you pay me to learn code? And I do it, and I heard a lot, but you're so poetic. How can you do such a technical thing? And that's a big lesson. How the world sees you doesn't need to define what you need or want or wish to do. And that is a big, big lesson, because that pushed me back for wanting to not even trying to learn code for a long time, for people telling me, but I wanted to be a pilot. And my daddy was but you're so good with humans, why would you not be a flight attendant? It was not bad, but they saw me as someone who likes humans, and therefore I did match code, but I had this big wish to do so. Big lesson to learn. Don't let the others define you, although they may have right. They may be right, and my work did that too. I finally got a scholarship, shout out to financial assistance, that changed life. And I got a scholarship to do full stack engineer course in Berlin with Coyote, a school that I love, and that changed my life. I got an internship, finally got into an open source program office, and I was like, yeah, reach the top again. But well, Germany, starting in life from scratch again, after being head of the department, life is like this, right? And that's the beauty of it. There's up and downs. And then they were like, my boss decided that I was too good with humans, and he was like, well, why don't you go to the community team? I was like, fucker, I just got to the fucking software engineer. But you know what? I love it. I love it because I'm also a developer advocate now, and I can match both things. I can love the humans, and I can still do the code, and I can get tired of the humans because humans can make you very tired, and I just got to the code, and I'm happy with that. And then I got so frustrated with the code, and I'm happy again being energized with the humans. I love the job. And that's what I have been doing now. And I thought it was for kids, I'm sorry again. So was the whole change from Brazil to Mexico to Germany. It is this beautiful trajectory that it's my personal story. And this bunch of things put together. So now I can get creativity, technical, deal with product, being super full on open source, and knowing that all my life trajectory has an importance wherever I go. I just make that fit in the roles that I am. That's my trajectory.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And thank you for the presentation. For me, it was perfect. Really comprehensive. I think we have time for one question. If someone wants to ask something.
Well, tomorrow I will be at the feminist LAN party, talking about pleasure activism. That's a thing. So if you want to talk about finding your own voice through your own, what gives you pleasure in life, you can hop in there.
Okay, thank you. Okay.
Last human.
We have last two speakers before the lunch.
Cool. Hi, I'm Raphael Wieding. I'm an astronomer at the Max Planck Institute for Astronomy in Heidelberg. So I'll kind of start by talking about hitting a point that a lot of people have made, that there's not really one path to get to things. So I started studying math and physics in my bachelor's. Didn't really have much coding experience, or that wasn't really a part of my degree, was actually using computers, which I think they've probably changed by now, but back when I was, even then they probably should have been teaching some of that stuff. But raise your hands, who went to the keynote this morning? And only one went to the keynote this morning? No, come on, let's see how many people went to the keynote. Raise your hands. Only a couple, okay. So, fair enough. Astronomy's a really fun place to be. Yes? Okay, great. Who thought it was cool? Yeah, okay, cool. So that one got a lot more hands. There we go. Who thought it was cool? Yeah, okay. Astronomy is a really interesting place, and I think highlights this kind of nature of, you can kind of come from a lot of backgrounds, and you can kind of end up sort of somewhere else. So I know people who've come from all sorts of, I interact a lot more with the STEM people. But no matter what kind of background you come through, you can find a place in astronomy, either designing databases for the amounts of volumes we're going to be hosting, which some of you heard about this morning, building things. If you're someone who likes to tinker and use your hands, I like it, but I'm not good at it. Then you can build instruments, so you should never let me do this. Or if you like building software or doing research or staying in academia, astronomy kind of, is a pathway for that. So I think astronomy is really cool in that sense. But I'll talk a little bit more about what I've found particularly helpful in my own career. And I think a lot of people have said this, is that if something motivates you, that's a good sign. If something gives you energy, that's a good sign. Now, I'm not saying that it'll always be positive. For example, I think a lot of people could probably resonate with the idea that we do a lot more emailing and spending time replying and answering and writing emails than we want to. But that doesn't mean that I don't enjoy what I do, right? It's important that I take care of all of the administrative tasks so I can spend time on the actual things that I enjoy. Sometimes they're really rewarding, and sometimes they can be a little frustrating, but it's important to kind of keep in mind what works, right? So, I make this point that it might surprise you what you kind of end up on, right? A lot of people, I really like math and physics, so a lot of people when I was younger thought, I might go into engineering. So I tried engineering, and I hated it. And I'm not saying that means you should hate it. You just find the thing that you like. Then I kind of make these two completely opposite points, which is I've been really rewarded by going down rabbit holes. That's kind of what a PhD is you choose one rabbit hole, you go down it for 5 years, or in the US it's 5 years, in Europe 3 years, kind of depends on the system. You go down a rabbit hole for 5 years, and that can be really rewarding and really fun. But then I also now, I've been really rewarded for doing that in certain projects. But then it's really important now, I'm really trying to focus on learning the skill of, well, also keep in mind what is the big picture of how your work and what you do fits into the greater ecosystem and the greater sphere. So I always kind of try and balance these two things. And then last is, I don't think anyone can do anything alone. I really believe that. If you do not accept ideas from the outside, your ideas will become very stale. So you really need community, both in your field and also outside your field. You need people that don't do what you do to talk to. You'll be surprised how many ideas come from seeing things in a light that comes from someone who doesn't understand what you do or doesn't have experience with what you do. And not just for your career. It's good to have support systems for not your work. And yeah, I think that I especially want to make the point, being in academia, this is maybe a little easier, but the fact that I've been able to really, that I haven't had any restriction for what code I'm allowed to publish or not publish has really helped me sort of build those collaborations within my career. And also, if you want people to use your code, really try and build them thinking about the end user. I think that was a point that was made into this morning's keynote, which is they made this amazing code, and then they realized they were the only ones that could use it. And that means that you don't get to benefit from the ideas coming in from outside. So in general, my path has been relatively linear within astronomy, more or less. Even though I didn't really come in with an astronomy background, I did my PhD or master's PhD, and then now I'm a postdoc in astronomy as well. But I do get the chance to interact with people from all sectors because it really is an intersection of basically every STEM field, and also outside STEM as well. Think about all the people who make the pretty pictures for astronomy. They're the most fun because they get to do lots of things with the public. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of me. I'm around. Find me. You can chat with me. Yeah, that's about it.
Okay, do we have some question? Okay, I have one question. Sure. How did you choose astronomy?
Yeah, I mean, I say that every kid has two interests. It's dinosaurs and space. Like, I kind of think that's pretty universal. And then we lose space, but I think we keep dinosaurs for a long time. But I sort of fell into it, right? So I was in university. I tried studying chemistry for a bit, and I did not like it. I started studying math and physics, and I liked those more. And then I found an astronomer in the physics department. We didn't have an astronomy department. I found an astronomer in the physics department, and I started chatting with him, and I was like, hey, do you need someone to help you do research? And he was like, yeah, sure, why not? And that's sort of what was my first foray into programming. He taught me IRAF, which is an astronomical coding software from the 80s. It's really bad, and a lot of people still use it. Talk to me more about that. No, we're replacing it slowly but surely. I also learned a bit of IDL. Who's used IDL here before? Good. Okay, yeah. It's another image-based processing software that they use a lot in geoengineering and astronomy. That's not a good sign. So now, but we've really transitioned to Python. So I just started doing research in it. I just started getting involved, and then I started, once I knew a little bit more about what stars were, I started leading public astronomy nights at my university, and it's been a lot of fun. I liked it. I thought, who doesn't like stars? Who doesn't think they're cool? Maybe you don't. Then don't do astronomy. That's fine. But hopefully everyone can get something. Hopefully you enjoy what you do, and the nitty-gritty of what you do. It's cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, I invite the last speakers. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me. Hey, is everyone feeling a little bit like we've been sitting for a while? Do you guys want to just get up and move? I just stood up and I was like, oh my God, my butt is sore. So if you're feeling the same, feel free to have a little stretch. Hey, I'm Laura. I will go fast because I'm sure these have been amazing stories, but I know we all want to go eat lunch. So I will try not to take too much time. Oh, nope. What was that? Can I refresh? My slides don't seem to be here, but that's okay. Can I? Sorry, I put them in this morning, so I was the late bird. Anyway, I'll keep going while she sees. It doesn't even matter if you can see the slides or not. I had a very weird entry into tech. Oh, look, yes. Okay, this is my journey. I actually wanted, because everyone has been so great about sharing like sort of the technical details of what they learned and how they got into tech. And I wanted to share a couple of more emotional stories because I think it's very easy to think that, you know, it's just a straight path to progress and you're just going to get there, or even not that straight, but, you know, you sort of put one foot in the other and everything goes well. But I did not know what I wanted to do when I went to uni. So the first story I want to share is I was sort of tech curious, but I didn't get a computer until I was 18 or 19. My first computer, I was like relatively old, as these things go. And I was like kind of curious about computer science, but also like I don't know what's going on there. And in my bachelor's, I was in the US at the time, and in my bachelor's at Cornell, the only girl I knew who was studying computer science was in a class of 2,000 people. It was the most flunked course at Cornell, where I was, like at Cornell. And she came home every day for a week crying. And I was like, fuck that, I'm not going there. That seems terrifying. Sorry, I swear, ooh, sorry, apologies, recorders. So I was basically like turned off it very early because I thought, oh God, that sounds intimidating. And it's such a, you know, male-dominated field, and that can't possibly be for me. But I ended up getting really interested in design. My first job, actually, I worked in a software company just like, you know, kind of doing a bit of everything. Like I was doing some support, I was helping customers write SQL queries, so I learned SQL without really understanding programming, which is a weird thing to do, but oh well. I was interested in how the algorithmic sort of things that were interesting under the hood weren't easily or visually like represented to the users, so I was interested in this disconnect between the face of the machine and the guts of the machine, and that's what got me into interaction design. So I ended up going and doing a master's called multimedia, which was back in the days before UX really was a thing. So I was literally learning how to author DVD-ROMs and CD-ROMs. I don't know if anyone remembers like physical digital media, but I learned some completely useless skills. Like my first programming language was Adobe Flash. Anyone remember Flash? Yes, amazing. But at the same time, I learned some very like pragmatic things about design on digital screens and like the difference between RGB and CMYK, and that's all quite helpful. And I ended up breaking into design. But after I finished the second story I wanted to tell was after I finished my master's and I was like, yes, I'm going to go be a digital designer and everything's going to be amazing. I had my course advisor sit me down and was like, Laura, you're not very good. Maybe you should try project management instead. And I say this like, I think in retrospect, I think he really genuinely wanted to save me grief, but it sucked in the moment. It was just like the worst thing. I just felt like I'd been punched in the gut. And like, I will say that I also discovered something about myself that day, which is that I am a rage, revenge-driven developer. Like, if you tell me I'm not allowed to do something, I am gonna go and do it. So I decided I was gonna prove him wrong, and I actually did break into design, and then secondarily, I ended up becoming also a front-end programmer. And I became a front-end programmer because I had had this experience over many years of putting together a beautiful mock and a design tool, first Photoshop and then others, and giving it to the developer and being like, this is what it should look like, and then something comes back, and it's like, in your mind, you've given them the Michelangelo, and then they've given you back the crayon version, and you're like, oh, this is not really what I imagined. So I actually learned to program because I was frustrated with like losing control over my designs, and I wanted to just make it fit the vision in my head. And I think that's a really pragmatic way to learn programming. I just wanted to do something. I wanted to make it real. I wanted to take the idea I had in my brain and put it in the world. And the third story I wanted to share is 10 years into my career, after I had been programming and shipping code, and I will say, like, you know, people may think front end is like not really that exciting a discipline, but you ship a lot of code and it's very real and it's like part of production, right? So if anyone wants to like come at me for not being a developer, I'm pretty sure we can compare lines of code shipped to prod and I'm gonna win, because I've just shipped so much code over my career. And like some of it's gonna be awful, and like never go back and read code you wrote 10 years ago. That's awful, but at the same time, it's a really pragmatic and tangible way of writing code, because you're doing something that people are going to see. But yeah, the third example I wanted to offer is I was in a startup. I spent the last 10-ish years in smaller startups mostly. And I had a colleague, and he was an ex-stockbroker, and he had done a 6-month boot camp. And this is not about boot camps being good or bad. This is about this guy and his particular attitude. But he had sort of brought what I think of as the proprietary, like cards close to your chest, I'm gonna win attitude into tech. And he didn't know where he was, and he didn't know like the culture that he had come into. So one day I sit down with him and I'm like, hey man, you're using Bootstrap wrong. Because, oh sorry, everyone remember Bootstrap? Like this is pre-Tailwind, you know, one of these horrible front-end frameworks. You're using Bootstrap wrong. You're not enclosing your containers correctly. Like you got the semantics wrong. And he was like, maybe you should go back to Photoshop. And again, like this was one of these like punched in the gut moments where I was like, oh, he still thinks he's better than me, even though I've been programming for 10 more years than him. And I'm telling you this story not because like everything is terrible. In fact, I have mostly met wonderful, supportive, non-women in tech. Like, I've mostly met dudes who've just supported me and helped me learn Git and just been amazing. But sexism is real, racism is real. Sometimes you will come across it. There isn't a perfect way to react in the moment, but let it fuel your fire. If nothing else, let it help you become a rage-driven developer like me. Oh, and yeah, you can see some stuff I've done, but I'm gonna stop. Thank you so much.
Thank you for sharing your story. Does someone have some question?
Ask me about sexism and racism.
How to make, to fuel this rage to do something good? How can you balance it in a way that is not become a bit toxic? I think I'm going in that direction now.
It's a wonderful question. I try to feed my soul with art and poetry so that I have ways of interpreting hard moments that are not just me stewing in my own frustrations, not just me feeling angry. I also we look to community. We try and reach out to people who have similar experiences. We try and, ask for support when we need it. It's very easy when you've had a really hard experience like that to go inwards and to feel like I need to be quiet. I'm the problem. It's, the fault is me. But really, that's the moment that you need to reach out and be like, hey, someone needs to tell me that I'm good and I should keep going. And I guarantee you have people in your life who will do that for you, but you just have to remember sometimes you have to ask.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay. Does anyone want to ask another question?
I'll be around, so feel free to come and chat to me.
Great. Okay. So this actually was the last speaker. And I would like to say thank you for all the speakers which take part in these initiatives. And of course, I would like to thank the audience and students or just people who come and enjoy these almost 2 hours of session. Thank you.